Thanks. Couple things, and I'm going to leave you guys alone, but I want to review some couple things just to make sure we're good. There is one question on the test or the quiz tomorrow about the national debt and deficit. So the two things that you need to be aware of, and it's in the first moment or two of the podcast, is the difference between, and you can literally just look up a definition and it should be able to help you out. The national debt and the national deficit. So again, the deficit is what do we go over every year, like what's our loan amount for the year, and then the debt is the total. So if I go over by $1,000 in 2019, and I went over by $1,000 in 2020, and $1,000 in 2021, then my debt is $3,000. Right? It's what's the total amount I've gone over the budget that we have. Right. So those two words, you're going to want to make sure you have those taken care of. The other one I do is I go into that debt clock and I use this to kind of have you guys see the numbers. So I put a link here. There's also a link literally in the question tomorrow. So if you get there, because it asks you about some numbers, and I say approximately what number are we at. One of the questions is what is the current national debt? And it says approximately 28.9 trillion. So it actually says the word trillion, doesn't have like all the numbers at the end. So that's one. The other one it's going to ask you about is what's the deficit, the current 2025, 2021 deficit. So you'll see that, and it says approximately $3 trillion. So those, and then I ask you, use this debt clock machine up here at top. So at one point I say, what was the debt in 2008? And so you come in here and it's going to be approximately $10.8 trillion. And then I ask, what was the deficit? So these are the two numbers you guys are going to be looking at so it's pretty upfront. I do 2018. I ask about 2012, and I ask about 2016. So everything's in there. It's literally a drag and drop question. So you'll see the choices all in those colors. I'll just show it to you. And then there's one question I wanted to at least go over the math with you guys to make sure that we're on the right track. So in the quiz itself, edit quiz. Here we go. This is the podcast. Right? So this is what it looks like. So I have is the total amount the country owes, while the blank is the total amount we borrow in any given year, right? So here's your four choices for the first one. Here's your four choices for the second one. That's those definitions I was just talking about, the deficit versus the debt. And then I ask, in the U.S. currently, in the United States, current national debt is approximately, right, it's going to be one of those three. And then the purple one of those three. According to the U.S. debt clock, what is the approximately U.S. national debt in 2008? Right, and this is the link, by the way. And then I ask you, what percentage increase have we seen in our total national debt over the past 13 years? So I've gone up almost 200%, almost 100%, almost 50%, almost 300%. So if we go back to that debt clock, what we're doing is we're going from 2008, which was 10.8 trillion, and currently we are at almost 30 trillion. So we've gone up by how many percent? See if you guys can do the math. This is why I wanted to go over with it, just based off of this, the look you're making right now. So if I go 10 trillion plus 10 trillion, that's 100% increase, right? Right. We're at almost 30 trillion. So I would have to add almost another 10%, right? So we're going up, another $10 trillion. So I've gone from 10 trillion to 20 trillion, that's 100%. And then I added another 10 trillion. So we're looking at a 200% increase just in the last 13 years, approximately, right? That's a little bit on the higher end, but that's what I'm looking for in regards to the increase. So just so you guys aren't caught off guard. There are 2 questions. You can see them right here from the vocab. And these are drag and drop ones as well. Right, so you have the definition, just drag the word over. Right? And then there's 2 of those. And then the other ones are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions from the notes. Right? So 8 note questions, 2 vocabs, and 1 podcast. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Good. All right. So what I'm going to do is the rest of the period is yours to work on whatever you need to work on. Other than sleeping, as long as it's school appropriate and legal, you guys are allowed to work on that. Okay. The time is yours. Thank you very much.